Welcome to Sharing My Truth with Mel and Suzie, the uncensored version, where we bear it all.
We do.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello. Welcome back, everyone, to Sharing My Truth pod. It's Suzie. I'm here with Mel, and this is your friendly, cute reminder to review and rate this little podcast. Give us a little 5-star review. Make us feel loved and appreciated because we love you guys. And don't forget to follow us on Share My Truth pod at everywhere you see social media. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hello, babes.
Hello, darling.
How are ya?
I'm fine.
You're just fine.
Oh, yeah. I normally say fabulous, don't I?
Yes, where the fuck is the fabulous?
Fabulous.
Oh my God, I know.
Sounds like Mary Poppins.
Oh, fabulous, darling.
Mm-hmm.
Just bring it out to your purse.
What?
That's, you know how Mary Poppins has her ginormous purse full
That's
of
true. I do.
everything, and you
Yeah.
just keep Chablis in yours.
Chablis.
No, a Sancerre.
Sancerre,
Oh,
darling.
sorry, love. Sorry.
I don't really like a Chablis, yes. A few glasses, a bit of Moet.
If you see,
Comes out of the first.
if you see Mel in Yorkville, you know what to get her.
Yeah.
A nice bottle of Sancerre.
I like a bit of Sancerre.
Oh yes, she does.
Sancerre.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, we
That's
should
about
probably
wine.
start getting drunk for this fucking episode because she's a little bit of a heavier one to carry. You know,
It is. It's not a fun one. As we said, it's not always sexy.
it's usually sexy though.
And this is not so sexy.
Divorce can be kind of sexy though.
Can it?
For sure. I mean, if you're the one who the main character is having the affair with,
The naughty one.
if you're the naughty one, it's kind of sexy until you get caught and then you get the divorce.
And then it's not
you
so
know,
funny.
it's a whole fucking thing.
Absolutely.
But so that's right. We're talking about divorce today.
Mm-hmm.
And
are.
yes. And Mel is the child of divorced parents, and myself, who is a child of a divorced lawyer.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably a very interesting perspective that you have and myself has, because my parents are still together.
Mm-hmm.
But like maybe they should have got a divorce, you know? But I think because my mom was such a divorce lawyer,
Right.
that like she just probably wouldn't have done that. Like,
How long will they be married?
oh God, you're asking me questions. Well, obviously, my brother's 31. 31? 31, I think. That's so embarrassing. 31. And so like over 30 years.
Right. That's
So
pretty good.
So yeah,
For a divorce
it's
lawyer?
really fucking
Yeah.
good. Like to like have lasted that long with someone, but like after that, after so long, what are you gonna fucking get a divorce at like 50, 60?
do.
It's insane to me.
People
Like
do.
unless you really cannot stand this person or they're abusive or something like that. Like if they're just like, then like I don't know. Are you really gonna divorce?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are
and find
key
love at
points.
60? I think
Key
that's-
points where things happen for sort of specific reasons. Like you
Yeah.
can sort of shuffle along, if you like, in your marriage for a long time,
Mhm.
especially if you have kids. And so I think a lot of people might get divorced around the sort of 25-year mark because maybe kids are leaving the nest and going to university or leaving home or whatever they're doing. And so let's say you didn't get married because you just had a baby. So I think once kids leave, the sort of what's the word? Like the barrier or the thing between you and your partner, like your
Mhm.
kids, if that goes like, and then you're like, oh shit, I've got to talk to you the
Yeah, I
whole time.
have nothing in common with you actually.
Yeah.
This sucks.
And I think that can happen a lot because you can
Right.
get very, very busy. When children are little, it's very, very demanding. And so that's a different thing. But as they get older, as you've seen with my kids in my house, like they are demanding, even though they're teenagers.
Yeah.
And one of them doesn't live here anymore. But there's always something. And I think you can sort of distract yourself from your relationship by putting all your energy into them, basically.
Yeah, of course.
And then when that distraction has gone, when that distraction has really gone, then you're really faced with the other person, and then it can be like, oh shit, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
So you can spend an awful lot of time kind of avoiding the issue, if you like. And if you don't actually really hate that person,
Yeah.
you're just like, I don't really want to spend my time with you. There's sort of two different things, aren't they? Because it's a bit like, I think you can be, a lot of people are not happy but not unhappy. They're sort of okay.
Yeah.
But I think you can get to a certain age, you think, well, what's the fucking point? I really should be happy.
Right.
But a lot of people just shuffle along. I mean, in my family, I have so much divorce, it's insane.
That's so interesting.
I'm one of the few. There's me, and I think one other cousin of mine that has had one marriage, and everyone else has had 2, 3, sometimes 4. Even my grandparents, they didn't actually divorce because you didn't, but my grandfather had an affair.
Yeah.
Well, not affair, he had a mistress that he kept in another house.
Wow.
It's charming, isn't it? But my grandmother was delighted because she couldn't stand him.
Wow.
So he went and lived in the house with the mistress, and his mistress died, and then he came back. She was furious.
No.
Yeah, that's a true story. That's actually what happened. She was absolutely furious. And she's like, oh, God, you're back again. She couldn't stand him. But they didn't get divorced because of convention.
Right. I have like very little divorce in my family. Besides, my dad got married really young to his first wife. And then he met my mom later.
Right.
So like he had a first wife, had a kid, my half sister, and then
got married again.
Yeah, which is like kind of crazy to even think about that he had a whole entire life before me.
Yeah, it is strange, isn't it?
Just when you like really think about it. But yeah, it's I just don't have a lot of divorce. I have like all of my cousins are together. It's it's just it's weird. It's very interesting.
It is weird. I mean, my husband's the same. Like everyone's married. Yeah, but I think it does really affect you. It affected the way I thought about relationships.
Yeah.
So my husband was very like, no, that's what you do. You get married and you have children, and I want to be married, and he wanted to be married. I mean, not perhaps specifically when we got married quite young, but
Right.
I was like very like, no, this isn't going to work. You have to live together. I was very skeptical. My parents lived together. I mean, my parents lived together for, I think, like 4 or 5 years. My dad pursued my mum, and they were married for 16 years, and they still managed to get divorced. You're like, really?
Wow.
Like, how have you not figured this out?
Yeah. I mean, like I'm so afraid of getting a divorce. Like I think that's my biggest thing. And like watching my mother, who was the divorce lawyer, she, and I was like, I worked as her secretary for like a year.
Yeah.
And it was like these people that come in, and she took all the most horrible cases as well. Like, she just wanted to help people, and like the people who needed help the most are the ones who have so many money issues and all of this other stuff. And yeah, it's a really scary. Divorce is such a scary thing to me that like literally you have so many assets with this person. Like you're literally about to like have such a hard life for the next like 5 or so years till this divorce finalizes, and like spend so much money on a lawyer, and like there's so many things you have to do, and like obviously, and if there's kids involved, it's like a whole other issue with child support.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's awful. And anybody who sort of trivializes it, like you haven't lived through it. And,
oh my God, it's horrible.
Even though I'm obviously, not young, but I do remember very clearly being the child and how it affected my life. And even then, going on and having relationships. But the flip side is that if I hadn't kind of met somebody who was like, no, don't think like that. Like there is light at the end of the tunnel. Just because your parents doesn't mean you're going to live like that. Like I wouldn't have had a happy life, so I would have missed out. So it really, you got to think about it that way. Just because, yes, it is a thing. Yes, because lots of people just get divorced, or maybe you come from a situation where your parents or many people were divorced or whatever. If you don't try, you're not going to have happiness. Yeah. So is it worth not having happiness to be safe, if you see what I mean?
Well, I think a lot of people also don't realize, like a lot of younger people, is that when you have a common law relationship, so like my boyfriend and I are common law technically, when you have a common law relationship, you can also still get a divorce because you have assets in your life, and you have you share a lot of things for most part, and some people are common law, but you also have a child, right? Like you're not married.
Of course.
There's things that are still in your life that you possibly will still have to get a divorce.
Of course. Yeah. Or some kind of agreement. Yeah.
But I think people don't realize that if they're not married.
They don't. And there will be a money situation, 100%. Yes. Yeah.
And like you can still get like call for like what is it called? Like spousal support.
Absolutely.
Even if you're common law. So like you're not safe. You have to have, you can't, like you're saying, like you can't just not have a relationship, like unless
100%.
I mean, it's just so complicated.
And, I've sort of seen myself from my personal point of view, lots of different situations where either people have got prenups or they haven't got prenups,
Yes.
and then it's blown up, or it hasn't blown up, and is it right to do that? Is it wrong to do that? Or I've seen situations where one partner comes from a very wealthy family and the other partner doesn't. So what does that mean? And so on and so forth. And then when things blow up and they go so spectacularly wrong, and the problem with divorce is that it obviously depends why you got to that. Did you get to that because you just sort of fell out of love? And I do have friends who've managed to do it amicably. They just wanted to have something else.
Yeah, of course.
But the chances are 9 times out of 10 that's not what happens, because obviously life isn't that easy and that organized. What happens is you meet somebody, they trigger your buttons.
No.
And you obviously are pulled by lust,
Yes,
and not by sense. And then the whole thing happens, and that's what happens in life.
Yeah.
And then the mess unfurls. And then, of course, you are hurting your partner. And your partner, the only way they can really, really get back at you is to make the divorce as probably financially and painful and the whole thing as arduous as possible. And that's what happened. That's what happened to my parents. My dad cheated, well, many times, but he cheated with this one woman who's now my stepmother. And my mum just wanted to punish him. So it took them 10 years to get divorced. And it was horrendous.
Yeah.
And, in court, and my mum lost out, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, many thousands of pounds from just being, just sorted out. Just, he's gone. It just.
But hurt people.
Of course they do. And there's no
sad.
sense. And unfortunately, my mum didn't have anybody in her life to say, look, the best thing you can do for yourself is get out of this with as much money as you can, start a new life. And if she had done that and she hadn't wasted 10 years, she would, financially be in a much better situation. Mentally, she'd be in a better situation and just got on with her life. The problem is also that divorce is historically, statistically, currently, whatever, always worse for women than it is for men. Generally, because and I don't mean that necessarily financially. Like, I do have friends who got divorced and they have very good jobs and the husbands have very good jobs. And so, in theory, it can all be fine, but just generally, obviously, men can go on and get married. Women do, but it's harder because, unfortunately,
If you've had kids, you have a lot more like personal responsibilities.
and
like,
your pool is smaller,
and
unfortunately.
exactly. And
Of
you're
men.
not, and you're most likely not making as much money as men
Probably
or your
not.
husband or your ex-husband is. Like, it's a whole thing. So ladies, let's try to either get a prenup, get something signed, because it can work in your favor too.
Of course, yeah.
Obviously, and it's going to make if you do choose to get divorced, then it's going to be just a bit of a better plan in that way, and you know exactly what's going to happen, and you're protecting yourself just like your partner's protecting themselves
For
as
sure.
well.
I mean, prenups can be, but then they're not, they don't work in every country and every jurisdiction. It's a very
Right.
kind of North American idea. And so that's another thing. It doesn't necessarily work.
Well, if you can get a prenup in your country or whatever the hell is going on, make sure you get a good lawyer who you trust as well. I have also heard of like really horrible stories of like not having a good lawyer for your
Of course.
divorce,
Yeah.
and you're just getting taken advantage of so much more, and you're still spending so much money on this lawyer
Of
who's
course.
doesn't have maybe your best interests in mind.
No.
Like, it's really horrible. And then, just be safe. Just be safe about it. I mean, I think I would get a prenup.
Yeah, I mean, it depends who you're marrying.
Did you get a prenup? No,
I don't have a prenup.
you don't have a prenup.
I don't have a prenup.
Because a lot of your, not saying that you guys would ever get divorced. You guys are like the dream couple of dream couples. But you guys share so many assets, right?
Yeah, and we married when we were very young and we
Yeah.
had nothing.
Right.
So most of everything that we have, we've built together.
Yeah.
Completely together. It wasn't, we both, we were very young with not very much.
I don't think it was as popular as like
No, and certainly
back then.
Certainly in the UK, I don't know anybody who.
Wow, yeah.
Unless the only people I know who had prenups, and the only people I know here or in the States, here as in Canada, are people who one party comes from a very wealthy family,
Right.
and that family wants to protect
Their assets.
Yeah, which is fair enough. I mean,
Yeah.
I get that. And in that situation, if you have a prenup and you've married somebody from an extraordinary wealthy family and you have an agreement that we get divorced and I get this, and it's very generous and it's fair and so on and so forth. And often a lot of these are according to how many years you're married.
Yes.
Then it's probably the best way, because then everyone's protected. You know that if you leave, you're protected. The other partner knows they're protected. It's probably a good idea and it's clean and so on. The only thing I would say about this whole thing about lawyers, and this is sort of a kind of a North American thing, obviously very American, is I say this being married to a lawyer, is that the minute you mention the word lawyer, and it doesn't matter whether that's in a business context, if you had a disagreement with somebody and you can't resolve it by discussing it or whatever, and then you go to the legal, the minute you say legal in any context in your life, it's kind of you've gone down a different road,
Right.
and it's harsh. It's a hard reality. So I think a lot of people don't want to do it for that. But I mean, the important thing I would say is, I think you as a woman, you have to think very hard about protecting yourself. And for example, if you've not worked and you've in the marriage, or you don't work because you have children, or you don't work and your partner works, and so you do have to be a little bit sensible and think about these things. I don't think most people don't, because you're in this for love. You're not in this. It's not a business transaction.
But it's not business, but you're still signing a contract with someone
Yeah.
for your literal entire life. Like,
Yes.
it's crazy to me as someone who, I mean, I'm just not as a romantic person as a lot of people are who want to get married. Like, I want to get married, but it's not like this all be all end all thing for myself. But it's just, you have to be fucking smart about it still. Like, people who marry someone like within a week of knowing them, like,
That's mad.
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously, like, these amazing romantic stories happen where you meet this person, you're there with them for their entire life, like,
Yeah.
after that. But fuck, you don't fucking know this person.
No,
And
I agree.
You're giving your
I
life
agree.
to them. Like,
I mean,
that's
you have to-
crazy.
yeah, I agree with that. You have to be very, very careful. I mean, I knew my husband for how long? Well, I suppose it does sound quite short. I think 3 years. We got married. 3 years.
That's a pretty good time.
And
I
then
think.
we were actually engaged and we did this on purpose for probably like a year or a bit more, because we weren't in a rush. We were young, and there was no like rush to do it. But I think, to get married, and why are you getting married? I mean, I also firmly believe I firmly believe you have to live together. You have to live with a person
agree.
before, and I did. You have to live with somebody before you marry them. You have to know if the really small things are going to irritate the shit out of you.
Yes.
And if you do not live with that person and you're just sort of having the, nice rumpy pumpy side.
Yes,
And then you
exactly.
leave, or you just spend the weekend together.
You have no idea how they live.
Exactly. And you don't see the kind of the side. Well, if you spend sort of little bits of time with somebody, you are acting a little bit in a sense. And if you don't live with them, you don't see the whole thing, do you? You don't see the bits like, oh, well, that's not very.
Yeah, they don't actually clean their bathroom as much. They only clean it when you come over.
Right,
And so like now it's like
Exactly.
oh, they don't actually like eat how you think they, because you're always going out. Like, it's
Exactly.
you literally learn so much about
Yeah.
someone because that you live with them. So
Yeah, 100%.
it's crazy. So yeah, just everyone be safe, be smart, be sexy. It is romantic, obviously. You're spending your life with this person, but just take care of you first.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
think it's about balance. Look, you
Yeah.
don't want to marry somebody with the fear. Like, for example, with the fear that you're going to get divorced.
Yeah.
My mum has a brother, and he's never married because both his sisters got divorced. So my aunt's been divorced like twice, my mum once. And he's like so scared of like,
Divorce.
yeah,
Wow.
that he's just like, no, it's not for me. And he's got quite a lot of money, and he's like, I don't want to get into that. And you're like, well, yeah, but that's kind of, that can't dictate your life, can it? So you have to find some kind of balance. I mean, obviously that's his personal choice, and lots of people think that way.
Yeah.
And fair enough, I understand that. And then there is the issue, if you haven't met the person,
Yeah.
then of course don't just marry anybody for the sake of marrying them. That would be my big piece of advice.
I see people marrying, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just in a weird age where like everyone is either getting married or they're still single, or they've like
Yeah.
myself, I've been in a relationship for 7 goddamn years and then just
Yeah.
just haven't done that yet. Like
Yeah.
it's just like ugh, it's a lot. So but like so many people I know are literally just getting married and I'm like, this is crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I
I remember
just-
going through that, like in your sort of like your kind of age, anywhere between 26 and sort of 30. Everyone
Yeah.
was getting married. We went to all these weddings, and then you sort of get if you've got married, then you sort of hit 30 something, and then the first divorces happened.
Right.
So we went through a few, and then you sort of go to a party or something, you hadn't seen somebody, and you're like,
Yes.
oh, they're divorced. What do you mean they're divorced? They got married 5 minutes ago.
But it's not crazy. Like, and you know what's bad is that like you can like see, you can kind of tell who's gonna actually
100%.
last
100%.
and who is like most likely gonna get a fucking divorce.
I have been
and
to so
sometimes you
many-
just gotta do that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
I've been to so many weddings, many weddings, and you can always tell. And all the people who are now divorced, I said, they're not going to make it. They're going to get divorced. It's true. And they got divorced.
It is true. You can always kind of tell.
And
Or
it's
you're
always the
just-
same thing. It's always the
Yeah.
same thing. It's that, it's not that they don't love each other.
No.
It's that their life view and their goals and their values are not aligned. They don't fundamentally want the same thing. And I don't mean like exactly the same thing. Like,
No.
you know, I want to have a red car, but he wants a blue car, or I want a big house and he wants an apartment. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about fundamentally how you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, are you somebody who's materialistic and the husband is materialistic, or the other way around? Like, you fundamentally are quite at odds in your goals and how you want to live. It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a real problem. And I mean, we've seen so many, and then it's hard for children. It's very hard for
Right.
kids to kind of get over. But I mean, there's so much divorce. I don't know what the answer is, although I would say from a female point of view, and this will probably lead into what we're talking about next, is you really have to be a bit smart and don't put up with shit.
Yes.
Don't put up with somebody saying horrible shit to you, controlling your life, not letting you see your friends, whatever it is. And if this is happening early on, it's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
And don't think that you are going to be able, and I'm talking here in the context of a man and a woman, if you think you're going to change this man, you are delusional.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's harsh, but it's true.
No, it's true.
You are delusional. He may evolve. He's not going to change. Neither are you, really. You'll sort of evolve. You're not going to fundamentally change.
Yeah.
But if they're trying to control your life, or I've seen this quite a few times with my friends where the husband doesn't like the woman going out, like she goes to a girl, and I'm like, what? And if that is happening right at the beginning, and we're talking going out with your girlfriends, going out for a night out, we're not talking going out and bonking everyone in the bar, right?
Totally.
We're talking going to have a nice dinner, have a few drinks, get a bit jolly. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
And if that is a problem right at the beginning, it's never getting any better.
Exactly.
Or, you know, if you, and the amount of times I've seen this in couples, the husband particularly not liking what the woman spends, even though the woman works. It's like, fuck off.
It's not your
I mean,
money.
unless you're doing really, really stupid things. But I'm talking like, you know, you know, non-important things.
Yeah.
Like if you're thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, that's a totally different thing. Or you do stupid stuff when you've agreed we're going to buy this with our mutual income, or
Yeah.
however you set your thing up. That's different. But I'm talking, why you care if your wife's had a haircut, or gone for a spray tan, or bought a pair of $200 jeans. Like, keep your nose out. You know?
Yes.
It's just. But anyway, if you see all of these things early on, I think you can kind of tell where it's going.
And I also think, like, obviously we're talking, you know, it is for women 100%, because I think it can really eat into our like self-esteem
Mhm.
a lot of the time. And we don't really see it until we're out of it. And then we're like, wow, that was completely toxic.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
can't believe
for
I
sure.
endured all that. But it's also the same for like men. And like, I've seen, you know, women, I hate the word crazy, but like go just like kind of just women being mean.
Oh,
Like that's
100%.
that's the only way to describe
Yeah.
it. It's like women just like
100%.
literally just being
Bitches.
horrible
Yeah.
bitches to I hate that word too, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
But like to, you know, their man, and it's like, guys, like you don't have to put up with that either.
No.
Like
Yeah.
not all women are gonna get like this. you're going to find someone else who can love you for what you're doing.
100% agree with
Unless
that,
you are
yeah.
fucking a dick. But like,
Yeah.
you know, there's
100% agree
these
with
special case, like special sometimes.
I
But-
100% agree.
yeah.
Nobody, at the end of the day, you know, like the L'Oreal ad, you are worth it.
Yes,
But
love.
if you are a man or a woman, you don't have to take, and you should not be accepting any kind of behavior or any kind of, or in a situation where you believe, and I'm not talking about seriously bad behavior, I'm talking about any kind of behavior where you feel they're not treating you the way you want to be treated.
Right.
Or kind of, you know, being, well, quite frankly, a bit of a dick. And I mean female
Exactly.
or male.
Exactly.
That's
Don't be a dick. Don't be a bitch. That's the
exactly.
golden goddamn rule.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
It is, Susie.
And now we're going to get into some people who we asked some of our audience if they had any of divorce stories or relationship
Yeah.
stories, and kind of red flags that a lot of these are women who wrote back. But
Yeah.
it's very, very interesting as to like maybe you guys are going to hear some red flags that you are experiencing
Yeah.
and being like, maybe I should dig a little deeper into that feeling.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so let's start with this one. The honeymoon stage was bliss. Then I started to play second fiddle to his work and social life. He began to neglect me and call me needy. I kept telling myself it was temporary. I told myself that for 10 years, and when we finally got engaged, I thought marriage would solve everything. We were divorced within 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, marriage never solves anything.
Anything.
It's
It makes things probably fucking worse.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you know, marriage is when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah.
And anybody who tells you in their marriage that it's all been amazing the
Yeah.
whole time is a liar. It's just bullshit. Because everyone has ups and downs in their life, and of course they do in marriage, and you gotta stick at it and work at it and so on, you know. But
Yeah.
I do understand, like, from her point of view, I do understand this. Like, you've been with somebody, you've invested all this time. What are you supposed to do? Just
Yeah.
walk away? And then there is the fear of, like, if I walk away, then what?
Right.
And I do think a lot of women feel that. And I can't really sit here from my, you know, vantage point. I got married when I was 28. And I met my husband when I was 24, 25. And I'm 50 and I've been with the same man.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for me to say, oh, you know, you should just walk away. But that is an incredibly difficult thing to do. It's also very difficult to do if you have those moments where it works and the bits that work are really great. So you think to yourself, well, you know, do I just put up with this for the that? And the answer is that nobody's 100%, but the bits that are bad should not be so bad
Yeah.
that you're unhappy. So what I'm saying is nobody's perfect, but the good bits should be great, and the bits that are not so great, let's put it that way, should not actually be bad.
Yeah.
And but I do understand she's with this person, they have their life, you're also working, you're probably both working, you're busy, and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I've got to like leave this person who I do actually love and I do have good times with for the bad, unravel everything, probably move, yada, yada, yada. How do I do that? And I think that most people, you'd stay. But the answer is marriage will not solve this. And she is very lucky, if that's what she's telling us, that they only were married for 2 years. They were still relatively young and they didn't have any kids.
Yes. Exactly.
So that is very lucky. But yeah, marriage is not going to solve anything. It's a bit like, you know, some people, they're in a relationship and it's not very good and they think, oh, let's have a baby.
Ugh,
And you're like,
fuck.
if you want to really fuck it up and like really add some pressure, have a baby.
Yeah.
You know, where you don't sleep, then you start hating each other. You're never going to have sex.
You
et cetera,
never
et cetera.
exactly.
And you love this. Don't get me wrong. I love my children. I loved my babies, but it's hard. So if you,
need
are
a
not,
partner.
if you are not in a good place, you can't do something that's even more difficult, which, you know, having a baby, having a marriage, because marriage does mean lots of things.
Yeah.
It means that you are committed. It's you know, it is harder. You've got to really work at this. And yeah,
I mean, I just hate
but
that.
I do understand why that happens, obviously.
Yeah, I just hate when he, like, I understand like the problem with needy people.
I hate that. Why would he say to her she's needy?
But
that's so mean.
But here's the thing. It's obviously like I hate someone if your partner is telling you you're needy, obviously marriage is not gonna fix this part.
No, I mean that would be that would have been it for me.
Yeah.
See ya.
But it's the thing is that like I've dealt with needy men,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the same with needy women. It's like you've defined yourself things that will make you happy. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Obviously there's two sides to every story. It's like maybe she was fucking needy. You know what I mean? But there's
Maybe.
men who will appreciate that
100%.
and want then this
He's the-
man obviously
100%.
he needs a less involved woman or like
Yeah.
putting so much pressure maybe on the relationship.
100%.
But
He's
yeah.
the wrong kind of man.
Exactly.
And if you are saying that to anybody, and if somebody's saying that to you, and you're hearing that, he is not the right man for you.
Yeah.
If you need a lot of support, and maybe because you've been through something in your life or whatever it is,
Exactly.
you have to find the person who's willing to give that to you, and you give whatever it is to that person.
Yeah.
100%. That's a huge red flag. The fact that he was spending more time with the other bits in his life, his social life or whatever, and she's not there, massive red flag.
Yeah.
I do, I again, like if I think about my point of view, my husband and I, we've always we have social life. So we have social life together, and then we have our friends, and
Yeah,
we go
of
and do our
course.
thing. But we've never it's never been intrusive. So if I wanted to go out for dinner with a friend, I sort of think, oh, we haven't got anything. We don't consult each other really.
Yeah.
We just go out for dinner. Whereas I know friends where if he goes out for dinner and spends whatever he spends, then she's like, well, I have to go out for dinner. And I'm just like, what's that all about? And so if you're in, or he's always, or I also have a lot of friends where the man is always going out,
Yeah.
like on a Friday, Saturday night, goes out, gets rip-roaring drunk. The woman is never part of that.
Yeah.
So they almost don't have a social life. It's a problem. I
Yeah.
mean, but
Especially if there's kids and then he's going out drinking all the time and then she's staying at home with the
right.
kids.
And,
yeah.
from my point of view, and I realize it is a very kind of I'm sitting on my little perch point of view, is that I would not tolerate that. I wouldn't be married to a man like that. My husband isn't like that. I'm not perfect. He's not
Yeah.
perfect. But I wouldn't have married a man like that. But I know that's very, very easy for me to say that,
Yeah.
because it's not easy to find the right person, as I've said many times.
Yeah.
So, but the only advice I would give, and she's already done it, but if you are in a situation where you are seeing these kind of flags that it's not what you want for your life, and you're early on, you've got to really think whether you're with the right person,
Yeah.
and they're giving you what you need, and you're giving them what they need, which
Yeah.
is the point of a relationship,
Exactly.
is teamwork.
Thank you, love.
There we go.
All right. Well, our next one is kind of on the same but different, and also things that you were talking about. So we moved in after a few months, and 10 months in, we married. And this was shortly after I was 18.
Oh God.
So young bride.
Yes.
And he's 26.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit older. Age sometimes doesn't matter.
No, not
But-
always.
So soon after, I started to notice the first signs of trouble. He wasn't keen on me spending time with my friends or family. When my brother in New York invited me to visit, even offering to pay my flight as a birthday present, he told me he didn't want me to go. He was even funny about girls' nights out when I arranged one of my friends in London, Ontario, I believe. He insisted on waiting at the hotel and spending the night with me. Eventually, I started to feel resentful towards him and his controlling behavior. One time I told him I was applying for a promotion at work, and his response was that I was delusional. I got the job in the end, and I ditched the man.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Wow. And to divorce so young, that's traumatic.
Very traumatic, and you're going to have all these kind of predisposed ideas about the way relationships work. I mean, obviously, I have an 18-year-old daughter. I'd be bloody terrified if she came home and said, "I want to get married." but there's not really much you can do. If
No.
that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. Obviously, you know, it depends who the 18-year-old is. Some can be very mature, some can be very immature.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I would ask the question, why does a 27-year-old man want to be with an 18-year-old girl?
Yeah, well, it's hard because, you know, men do
Like younger women. But
younger women, but they're
But you're in your 20s, you don't, it's not like he's 50 and he's looking for a 30-year-old. If you're 27 and you're going out with a 22-year-old, I mean, they look amazing, or a 25-year-old. I mean, it's not that sort of physical thing, is it? But very hard for her if she's that young, and this is, you know, this kind of story is as old as time, right? That a woman's sort of swept up in the whole thing. You don't know what her background is, if she had wanted somebody to love her, blah 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 blah. She's a human being. That's what happens. And somebody shows you attention, and then, you know, often men or women, you get into the relationship and then you're so sort of, you're in too far, and then they start to show their real colors.
Yeah.
In terms of, and sometimes it can be horrible and it can be violence or whatever it is. And then it's very easy. People will say, oh, just leave. Well, and go where? You know, it's very easy to say that, but what is that person meant to do? It also takes an enormous amount of strength to try and get up and say, okay, this is going to be the hardest thing I'm ever going to do, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And that is very easy for somebody to say, but I mean, I'm very glad that she got her life together and went on and you know, found her self-worth. But
I think that's the biggest thing when one of the people in a relationship is jealous of the other person, and they're having self-esteem or something issues, and they're putting it on the other person, like because I'm not having fun, you're not gonna have fun either, and like that's a huge problem. And I've seen that in some of my friends' relationships, and it's so horrible to see, because it's like, as their friend, what the fuck are you gonna say? You know, like, it's so hard to not be on your friend's side, but gosh, like, you can't, you have to be that person's partner. You can't just be their, you know, if no one's having fun in the relationship, what's the point of this relationship?
100%. And it's just like, and it's also this idea, like I was saying to you, like, well, you went out, well, I went out. Like, why?
Exactly.
Like, why? Why can't you be happy
For that the other person
for the other
is having fun?
You don't, it's not like a little scoreboard, you know. Oh, well, I had dinner this week, so you have to have dinner that. I mean, it's ridiculous. Or I went out with my friends, so you go out with your friends. If you're just generically doing it, then there'll be no unhappiness. And I personally, you know, jealousy is a big problem. I know lots of people who've had issues with that, and it can stem from lots of different things. Like perhaps you've had a bad relationship, or you come from a family where there've been issues, and you're very insecure.
And divorced parents.
Exactly. Divorce, a lot of things.
Yeah.
You can also, I think, be innately jealous. I'm not sort of personally not an innately jealous kind of person.
Yeah, me either.
So I never think about it.
Yeah.
I never even think about it. I do what I do, and he does what he does, and we do our thing together, and that's sort of the end of that. But
I mean,
it's tough.
It does feel like, it's a proven fact that men are healthier when they hang out with their man friends, and women are also healthier when we hang out, when we have a community of women. Like, and you have to let that person, it's not like they're hanging, like, let's say, like, you know, you have a girlfriend and she's kind of like one of the guys. It's not like, you know, that might be hard as a guy if you're a jealous man watching that, and her having a lot of fun with other guys. But like, to not let her hang out with her girlfriends, that's a whole other thing. Like, she needs that support group, because women give other women something that men can't give us.
I totally agree.
Always.
And what are you worried about? What are you worried is going to happen?
What the fuck are you worried about?
And if you're fundamentally worried, then there's your problem.
Exactly.
You know, you've got bigger fish to fry. You've got bigger issues.
100%.
And I also think that you don't also have to have exactly the same interests. Like in my case, my husband really likes sport, and he likes going to watch soccer, and I will say football, but I have to say soccer for our American Canadian friends. And he likes watching every sport: baseball, soccer, hockey, ice hockey. And I mean, zero interest is the understatement of the century. I mean, I really just...
You're there for the drinks.
Yeah, and I can't even
You're
make
there for the
it
gin and tonic.
through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I say to him, if it's going to take you more than 20 seconds to explain the rule, I will
I'm out.
live in blissful ignorance. I don't want to know. But so what I'm saying is he actually goes with his mates, but they all want to go. So what's the point of me being a
Like
miserable
it.
cow sitting next to him, wishing I was doing a million other things other than
Yes.
watching soccer, or ice hockey. So, but what's wrong with that? It's better. And then, I go with my friends and do whatever. And then you know, but I don't know.
100%. Here's our last one.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So the third story, Susie, is somebody who wrote in, or actually they left us a message, didn't they? And so she said that her biggest red flag in her marriage came about 2 years after her second baby was born. And her husband started sort of comment, you need to lose the weight, you still got baby weight. And she says to us that she was a busy professional with 2 children under the age of 3, and she just didn't physically have the time, the energy, the capacity.
I can't even imagine having the energy
to work
fucking do
out.
that.
Exactly. And worry about, drinking smoothies.
Yeah.
And her husband actually said to her, well, your friend, and she doesn't obviously say,
She doesn't say who.
We'll call her Jane.
We'll call her Jane.
She seems to have time. Why don't you? And then he started making all these derogatory comments about her weight. And she said to us that, that is once a man or a woman, because it could be either, starts making those kind of physical comments about you when you're together as a couple, and like really hardcore hurtful stuff, then really you're going down the wrong road. And especially after you've had a baby, for the love of God. It really, I speak from experience, is not your first priority. And it's very, very difficult. And your husband, presumably, is with you because they love you and you have this child together and and you're not really worried about the fact that you look like a supermodel or not.
It's just so horrible. Like, I think
It's nasty.
a lot of men are kind of in this thought that, you have a baby with a woman and maybe she's young enough to have her like
Bounce back.
in quotations, bounce back.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like, if that doesn't happen fast enough, or she's a fucking she's working still, she has babies, like, and you're expecting her to work out as well, eat the best she can eat. Like, it's, what are you fucking doing?
Oh, I agree. Who are you?
Like, that's so crazy to me. What are you doing?
It's absolutely horrible. It's horrible. And I can only, from my point of view, speak from experience where I put on weight with babies and my husband never said anything to me, ever. And told me he loved me and I was beautiful at any point.
Yeah.
And the same me with him, he put on quite a lot of weight. I never said anything to him.
No.
It actually, he even says to me today, because he lost, as we know, I've said this many times, 65 pounds during COVID, the only
Crazy.
person who actually lost weight. And so he's a very different person physically, looking like some people don't recognize him. And he always says to me, oh, do you remember what I look like? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he says it in a derogatory way. And I didn't think about it then. I don't think about it now. I don't. But I have had people women say to me, and so women can be just as nasty.
Yes.
Saying, oh, did you like him when he was big? And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? He's my husband. I really didn't give it that much thought. But I think, I mean, so it does happen to men and to women. And I've seen a lot of couples, and unfortunately it's mostly men, where the men make comments about the woman's physical appearance and have said it, and they say it in front of people, which I think is just
so crazy.
Just no way.
Yeah.
Don't ever take that. I'm sorry, because, putting on weight is not against the law. Most women do it. Obviously women have different body types, but most women during their life, for whatever reason, often actually related to hormonal things, may shift between 10, 20, 30 pounds of their weight. And it's like, and men can do the same, like give everyone a break, for God's sake.
And there's also like nicer, there's better ways of encouraging your partner to maybe eat better, work out, you know, like maybe if you see them struggling,
Yes.
don't kick a horse while they're down.
Well, yes.
You know, like
Yes.
like maybe
100%.
do you want me to take the kids? Like, do you want to go to like a yoga class? Like maybe not something like but, like
100%.
you know, you have to support that person and maybe
100%.
and obviously they're probably feeling like shit about themselves too.
100%.
Like you can't be that person being like, you look like shit today, honey. You're like, yeah, they probably they're not feeling the best anyways.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe take the kids or give the kids to like either grandparents, a friend, a babysitter. Go for a hike or something. There's ways that you can encourage this stuff without being a fucking dick about it.
I 100% agree. And in actual fact, that's a very good way of putting it, is to like, you know, maybe suggest you exercise together or you go for a, and that is very, very challenging when you have young children.
100%.
But also, you know, maybe like, don't worry about it. And
100%.
I mean, I'm sorry, but you know, and the thing to me is saying nasty things, because when you say nasty things to somebody, whether it's about like saying that they're needy or that they're overweight or so-and-so, their friend looks better than you can never take that back. You can never undo that. You can never rewind that. That argument will come up time and time and time and time again. The time you said that, the time you said, you can't take it back. And so be really, really, really careful.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that obviously people change. And the other thing is to think we get older, we change. We, you know, don't be mean, for fuck's sake.
Right? Like this is someone who you were in love with. This is the goddamn mother of your children.
I know, it was so bloody mean.
Now,
And maybe you should try having babies because it's bloody painful.
Yeah, exactly. Try pushing that out of your small little tight pussy. Fuck you.
Well, I didn't do that.
No, you didn't. But
I had
a lot
two
of women do.
Pulled out like an alien from my stomach, and it does look a bit like that.
Fucked up.
You know that movie Alien?
Yes, I do.
It's a bit like that. And you have this nice, well, actually my scar's quite small, but anyway, it's far too much detail.
It's very nice. It's a very small
But,
scar. It's a battle scar.
It is.
Yeah.
It's bloody painful. And it's like, come on. It's hard having children, and it's hard. I mean, having kids, which I did, have young children, working full time. I did that. It's like, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And in my case, with my first child, I didn't have any help. And then with, you know, anybody helping, like family or somebody that I paid, I couldn't afford it. And then my second child, I could, and it made all the difference. But things like that, you know, it's come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Just be nice. Just be nice.
Yeah,
This
be
is
nice.
supposed to be your fucking
This is
partner.
your wife.
Yeah.
You're meant to love her. She's had your babies. Like, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Thank you, Mel.
That's it.
That's
all I've got.
perfect. I love that.
That's all I got.
Don't be a fucking dick, everyone.
Yeah.
And if you have a funny divorce story, a sad divorce story, you guys just want to rant to us, we're always here to listen. You can DM us on our Instagram or any other of our social media platforms. You can email us. Go to our website. You can leave us a voicemail. Talk about it with us. And we will always reply. And your story might be on the podcast with permission. So we want to hear from you. We appreciate all these women sending us their stories.
We do.
So yeah, we can't wait to hear from you guys back. And you know, this is a tough little topic. Divorce. It's not easy.
It's a tough topic, but I salute all these women for being so strong,
Yes.
because it's not easy, and it's taken a lot of courage to change their life and realize that something wasn't right. So
That's
all
right.
power to you.
Goddamn power to you, baby. And if you get a divorce, ladies, God, there's so many men in the sea. You know?
There are many.
Go
men.
get a hot man with a good dick who knows to fuck you.
Thank you, Susie.
You're
as,
welcome.
as always. And
Absolutely.
you're worth it.
You're goddamn that pussy. It's worth it.
Wow. She'd always got to bring it back to that.
You gotta
hadn't
bring
she?
it back to the puss.
Anyway, so thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys.
And
Catch ya
until next time.
next week, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.
See ya. Sharing My Truth Pod is so excited to partner with Vibrator.com, where the A in vibrator is the number 8. This is an extremely exclusive code where no other podcast has it. If you go to Vibrator.com right now, use the code MS15, that's MS15 at Vibrator.com. You can now get 15% off anything in store. That's any sex toys for you, your partner, your neighbor, your mom. We don't judge. We don't care. Get it now. Go to the link in our bio, put in the code, and get jiggy with it.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod, and leave us a voicemail on our website, sharingmytruth.com, to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.